Okay, good evening and welcome to this Tuesday, June 15th, 2021 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. If you would, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll move right into roll call. Commissioner Ingert? Here. Commissioner Faulkner?
Present.
Vice Chair Fizer?
Present.
Commissioner Manser?
Present.
Secretary Peterman?
Present.
Commissioner Urquia?
Present.
Mayor Turnbow?
Present.
Chairman Wiggins is here, and looks like Commissioner Bowie is currently absent. We don't have any personal appearances on the docket tonight, so we'll move right into the consent agenda, which is the approval of minutes from the May 18th, 2021 meeting. I'd entertain a discussion or a motion to dispose of that item, please.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Faulkner.
I move that we approve minutes from our May 18th, 2021 meeting as presented.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion to approve the minutes from May 18th as presented by Commissioner Faulkner, seconded by Secretary Peterman. All in favor? Seeing 9-0, and also for the record state, yes, sir.
Oh, he's here.
Yes, so that's why I was saying, as for the record state, please, that Commissioner Bowie is present and all voted in favor.
Thank you.
No unfinished business this evening, so we will move into new business, which is, we have two cases tonight. And as that will go on, I'll ask the applicant to please come to present the case. Case number 21010, Saddlebrook rezoning. And this does require a public hearing, so I will open that at this time for the record. And if the applicant would please come and present your case.
Good evening. My name is Sean Duke with Snyder Associates, 802 Francis, St. Joseph, Missouri, 64501. What we have before you tonight is both a rezoning and preliminary plat for Saddlebrook. It's a property located there south of Brookside, just on the north side of Hubach Hill Road. Brook Parkway will extend down through the property and will be on the east side of the property. What we're proposing is a combination of different lot sizes, but it's all still single-family residential. We have the northern half, which is 65-foot wide lots, similar to what is in the Brookside development to the north. On the south half, we have some 45-foot wide lots, which are a little bit narrower houses, about halfway down the property. In general, we're going to keep the same. We have plans to, be single-family residential, match the neighborhoods around us, be, comparable design. We have accounted for all the floodplains in the property. There is a floodplain along our west side. There is a floodplain that runs down along Fort Creek along the south portion of the property. We have allowed for that to flow through. We will meet all the city codes or criteria requirements as a typical development would. We have no, we aren't asking for any variations on that. We just have here for the different lot widths, and that's why we're proposing to change that. Currently, it's already zoned plan development. We're going to just changing the requirements of that same plan development to allow for the change in lot widths. Are there any questions, I guess?
Any commissioners have a question at the moment for the applicant? Otherwise, we will move into staff report. Any questions? Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
All right. Ms. Jardot, would that be staff report to you? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Wiggins. Excuse me. Rick Fry with Brookside Builders is requesting to modify the development standards of the existing R1P zoning for about 65 acres to modify and adjust the lot width, lot size, side yard building setbacks, and lot coverage to allow for a mixture of single-family homes in the proposed development. Those lot coverages or lot changes are to go from 8,400 square feet to 4,500 square feet, have a lot width of 45 feet, a lot depth will stay the same at 100. The front yard setback and rear yard setbacks would also stay the same at 30 feet. The side yard setbacks would go from 7 feet to 5 feet, and then a corner yard would stay the same at 20 feet. The maximum building height would, stay the same at 35 feet, and the maximum building coverage would increase from 30 feet to 40 feet. The surrounding properties are to the north, south, and west are R1 and R1P, and then to the east is unincorporated Cass County. I'll read into record the items of record. Exhibit 1, mailed notices to adjoining property owners. Exhibit 2, notice of publication in the newspaper. Exhibit 3, the Unified Development Code. Exhibit 4, the application. Exhibit 5, the growth management plan. Exhibit 6, the staff report, and any additional exhibits that are presented during the hearing. Some previous planning actions that are around the property. So the property itself was rezoned from R1 single-family residential to the current R1P single-family residential plan district back in April of 2006. 3 surrounding properties were rezoned to also R1P in 2005, 2015, and 2019. The developer did initially request to reclassify the zoning from R1P to R2P in order to allow a mix of single and two-family residential dwellings. After meeting with neighbors and hearing concerns, after Planning Commission, they have decided to withdraw the application. They're now back before the Planning Commission to, again, just modify the R1P setbacks. A Good Neighbor meeting was held on Wednesday, May 19th in Harrelson Hall. 15 people attended, including residents of the county, Dutchman Acres. A couple things to also note. Raymore Peculiar School District received a copy of the conceptual plan and indicated that they were aware of the development and did not feel it would cause a negative impact on their ability to meet the standards for the students. The conceptual plan for Saddlebrook was shared as part of the Good Neighbor meeting and showed approximately 74 single-family homes with, to the north, a minimum of 65-foot lot widths, and then to the south, there would be 98 single-family dwellings with a minimum of 45-foot lot widths. City staff recommends that the Planning and Zoning Commission accept the staff proposed findings of fact and forward case number 21010, a modification of the development standards for the existing R1P single-family residential plan district designation of the 65-acre property to City Council with a recommendation of approval. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Jardo. So just to clarify, this is currently an R1P. We're just discussing the standards of which the lot widths and measurements. So it's not a zoning from another commercial or agricultural. It's already R1P, correct?
Correct, or even other residential.
Sure, thank you. Okay. Anybody have any questions either for staff or the applicant, please?
I just wanted to, sorry, Jeremy.
No, please, Commissioner Rancer.
I just wanted to clarify that the conceptual plan for Saddlebrook that you mentioned was the 74 single-family dwellings with a minimum of 65 and 98 with a minimum of 45-foot lots, that was this current plan that we're speaking of and not any of the past ones that were...
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, it will be the next case, correct.
Okay.
Any other commissioners have any questions? That probably for the next case, I would imagine. Yeah. Yeah, this is just for the zoning. So I don't think the actual physical structures would, I mean, unless it's applicable to anybody's inquiry. Because otherwise we can do that for the next case. Okay. I could probably, good. I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this if anybody.
Sir?
Oh, I am sorry,
You
yes.
have a public hearing
It is
open.
the public hearing. I apologize so much. If I would actually look at my sheet, it would say invite anyone to speak. Since the public hearing is open, we do ask anybody from the public, if you'd like to speak on this, to please come to the podium. Please limit your time to 5 minutes. And if you happen to have something to say that is similar or identical to something that somebody else has already said, just note it as opposed to repeating it. But I do welcome anybody to come talk about the zoning issue at this time. And Mr. Zur?
Name and address.
Yes, and please include your name and address for the record. Thank you, Mr. Zur. Okay. Yes, absolutely welcome. Please come up. Just state your name and address for the record.
Christopher Yates, 1011 Magnolia, Dutchman Acres. My left.
Is the green light on your, there's a little push button.
Should I repeat again? Please. Christopher Yates, 1011 Magnolia, Dutchman Acres subdivision to the east. I attended the Good Neighbor meeting with the city planner and Sean Duke. Asked plenty of questions about it. After serious consideration of everything that's trying to be done here, I respect the developer's attempt at trying to actually develop the property. I mean, fine, I'll give him credit for that. What I don't like about it, and even though technically I have a whole lake of separation between me and this planned subdivision, is the fact that it doesn't fit the area. I know that seems very on the surface level, but this is an experiment. This is an experiment of actually shrinking down the lot sizes down to almost 1/8 of an acre. Just coming up here to City Hall, I dropped by Sam's and happened to see the neighborhood that's directly behind the Walmart as just a general idea of how that might look. I understand those are townhomes directly behind the Walmart, but it gives me a sense of like just how much traffic's going to be there, how many people will actually occupy the space, and just simply it's too many people in one area. And in fact, with you guys actually approving this, it opens up the door to more developers trying to shove more people into an area that realistically needs to be there. I guess I want to say the whole idea of Raymore is come home to more, not come home to less. So after doing a bit of research, I understand the target buyers, 22 years old to about 40 years old. Okay, they claim they're going to be starter homes. Starter homes turn into rental homes afterwards. And rental homes, as you're probably going to hear from many other people, bring down the property value. But let's just steer away from property value for just a second. The biggest thing about this is that it is just way too congested. I'm fine with the northern end, and I'm sure plenty of other people are, even though the lots are technically still a little bit smaller than those surrounding them. But honestly, I do not think that the city should make a decision based on the needs of the builder and their desire to make profit. And in fact, one of the things I saw that we discussed in the Good Neighbor meeting was, okay, the cost of materials and the cost of labor. That's not your problem. That's their problem. Our problem is to actually make our city beautiful. Our problem is actually trying to make it a place where people want to come and live and stay. And those people tell their friends who want to come and live in Raymore. Not, oh, hey, this is just a fly-by-night place. I'll stay here for a couple of years and leave. So hopefully I've actually covered all the bases, but the biggest thing is this is just not right for Raymore. It's not, and it's not right for the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. Anybody else? Please welcome yourselves to the podium.
Chris Oakes, 1012 South Madison Street in Raymore. I'm on the east side, technically in Dutchman Acres, but I'm one of the few that actually are inside the city limits of Raymore. My biggest concerns is on the south side of the development that they're proposing 45-foot lot widths and only 5 foot to the edge of the land. The biggest concern I'm seeing that I've had other people who, cousins who live in Raymore that are technically out of a floodplain but they still do get floods on a regular basis in their basements. The concern is right next to the creek on the south side, all of those lots, I don't believe have any sort of, no realistic way to repair any potential foundation movement, dirt movement that is caused by the high water table, the floodplain itself. As we're building more throughout Raymore, the floodplain in the undeveloped areas are going to increase. And even if that stays approximately the same area, my concern is that in 10 years' time, we're going to have houses in that area that may need basement or foundation or structural maintenance. And having 5 feet to the property line and a 45-foot width for the entire property itself is not realistic for being able to even get maintenance equipment in, construction equipment in, and if they're not properly maintained, that's just going to drive down the property values throughout all of Raymore and the county in that general area. It's like if they were considerably closer to the north half where there's 65-foot widths on it, then I think that it would allow a lot better maintenance for potential problems in the future. And as part of the concern is like helical pylons and piers typically require 21 feet is the average length for those. And if it's 10 feet from house to house, if it's between the houses that need to be maintained, then there's not even enough room to get in the required stabilizing equipment. So that is my biggest concern, is specifically on the south side where the lots are the most narrow, and also it being in the floodplain itself.
Thank you, sir.
My name's Cameron Reed. I live at 1124 West Hubach Hill Road. My property actually backs up, or the whole side is just to the east of the proposed development. I've lived in Raymore basically since I was 6 years old. Moved to Belton. That was my starter home. Then as soon as I could afford it, I moved right back to Raymore. But even when I was looking for a starter home, I would not have bought a lot that small. I mean, I'm relatively young, but I would, like, that's too small. I mean, my lot in Belton was too small, and it was a single family home, and I want to say it was probably 70 feet wide, my lot over there. I mean, the north side, that's fine, but the south side, I think you're just trying to stick too many houses that close together, and it's going to be more traffic. You're not even going to have places to put cars on the street, because we all know that cars are going to get parked on the street on those cul-de-sac roads, and they're not even going to have enough room once you hit the driveway, and then you're just going to have a problem with traffic throughout the neighborhood. So I don't know, like I said, the north side, I think that's fine. It's just like Stonegate, just like Brookside. Obviously I'd like to see larger lot sizes, just like Dutchman Acres is, but not feasible. I understand that, but I mean, that's the whole reason that I moved back to Raymore, is because of the lot sizes that I could get here. So all right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Anyone else? If not, I will close the public hearing, but I'll give one more chance. Okay, the public hearing is closed. Any further discussion by the commission? Or questions, just open questions for the applicant or the staff, or any discussion of any kind? Commissioner Urquilla, thank you.
Katie, do we currently have any areas where the lot sizes mirror what we're proposing on the south side?
Thank you, Commissioner Urquilla. Yes, we have the same lot width up in Eastbrook, in Creekmore. Also, Stonegate has 60-foot wide lots, but they have a 3-car garage, whereas the ones to the south, the 40-foot wide lots, are only 2-car garages. So there is some, the 20 feet does account for a garage. And then there's one more that I can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Commissioner Bowie.
Would the applicant like to explain or rebut some of the, because I had a big concern that was brought up as far as the sizes of these lots. They seem, especially on the south side, they seem small. And I think I saw something that said 1,300, 1,500 square feet home, or 1,300, 1,400 square feet homes, and it just seems really small. Did you want to respond to that?
Definitely. You know, what we propose right now is 45-foot lots. There's a variety of house plans we've found. We've talked to different architects, and there's a variety of house plans where you get something between, 12 to 1,500, but I've seen some 1,800 to 2,000. So we're trying to find a balance of what is a house we can build for a cost right now that's affordable. Because as material costs are increasing, we have to find some way to balance the cost of infrastructure costs that keep going up as well. So for every house we have on that square footage of frontage of road, we need to account for those extra street costs, those extra utility costs as they keep going up as well. So that part of why we want more, a higher density of the house down there is to help cover that cost. Now we have to deal with the fact that material costs have gone up this past year. This has made this more prevalent all across the whole entire metro area. I'm seeing that more and more where we're going back to these smaller houses. This isn't necessarily a new concept. You go back, 40s, 50s, 60s, you'll see house widths are 45, 55 lots. So it's not completely a new design, whereas we went through an era where we kept making wider, bigger, and making everything more and more. We're going back to maybe a more, smaller footprint for a house that maybe has more vertical design to it. So we're looking at more 2 stories, more options there where you have still, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. You still have a nice house, and you still have a backyard to it, where you get something that's, back to where we're back to affordability, where maybe, I don't know what the prices on these are now are going to be just because material costs have gone ridiculously crazy now. But ideally, we'd be back, pricing those out somewhere where Brookside was at when it first started. When it was back to something where it was affordable to help families grow. Because, one thing I'll see to this is, if we get to a point where you don't ever have, new housing coming into the city, you're losing that development, you're using that economic drive. Housing brings commercial development, brings industry, kind of a cycle. So if we don't have that happening, the city's going to, it'll go stale, and you'll have it in the surrounding areas. Belton will start growing. It'll go south, Killer will start growing. It's where the industries will go. So you can't necessarily give up on, trying to make the perfect subdivision, because it's going to be hard to develop those subdivisions, the wire lots, because just the cost of it is going to become not to the point where it's going to be profitable for a developer to build on. So that's why we've looked at trying to get something with, a blend of something that's a little bit smaller lot width, but still not that much smaller. We're talking 20 feet, narrower on the lots from the other ones. They still have, we haven't decreased the depth of the lots any. You're still got 120 foot, 25 foot deep, lots. So you still have some depth. You still have a backyard. So they're they're still 10 feet between the houses. You're going from 10 feet instead of, I think 6.5 on some of them, 12 or 13 feet to 14 foot, depending on what your lot width is. So we still have some space between the houses. There's still the ability to work on the houses. There's equipment out there that can be done in smaller spaces if need be. What else can I add to that? Floodplain-wise, the comments about floodplains, we will meet all the city codes. The city code has criteria. FEMA sets down criteria for you. You can't build in a floodplain without making sure you have, provided protection for it, and the city of Raymore just doesn't let you do it. We don't submit a plat with a house in the floodplain. You get it removed from the floodplain if it's not in the floodplain. We just don't build in the floodplain. You don't want to. We don't want a house in the floodplain. This is a creek down over there that flows through there. This creek that goes east-west between those lots, it's a flow off that lake to the east. It's not our bigger concern floodplain-wise, because the floodplain is really that whole west side. And you get more of a floodplain factor from this lot because of the backflow of the water not being able to get out because when the creek on the west floods. So it's not necessarily we're worried about the water rushing down between the lots. It's the water just can't get out because the floodplain is raised up. But we will meet all the city codes. I don't have a concern with that. I think Mike will make sure we don't provide anything that's not allowed by city code. That's why the building codes are there to help protect homes from being built in places that can't be built correctly. Okay, yeah. if there's any-
Just a quick question. Is there, and maybe Mr. Ike can, or me, I'm sorry. Mr. Crass, sorry. The mics, I'm sorry. I apologize. We even live in the same neighborhood and I got your name wrong. Mr. Crass, does, obviously I know there was something in here. I don't know if we touched on it or the applicant can discuss. Are there necessary improvements to be made, or is the city, I mean, based on our knowledge, any concerns?
No, not from an infrastructure standpoint. And as the applicant stated, our floodplain ordinance is actually more restrictive than many floodplain ordinances, where we don't even allow, not only don't we allow structures to be built within the floodplain, we don't allow lots to be platted within the floodplain. And with regards to future foundation work, a lot of that is done up front with our building inspections department. They actually do a footing inspection, make sure the soils are sound before the footings are constructed. That's one of the advantages of building in a city. You have a very aggressive inspection staff. Number of homes have been built adjacent to the floodplain in the city. I'm not aware of anyone that has had to come in after the fact and do any aggressive foundations repairs due to settlements.
Thank you, Mr. Crass. Apologize about that again. Any other questions from members of the commission? I will just state real quick, Commissioner Bowie, based on your inquiry, I was able to find the adjustments that were made for the Eastbrook at Creekmore. They were 4,500 square foot lots with a minimum lot width of 30 feet with on a cul-de-sac 40-foot regular 47 corner. So essentially, if anything, these are slightly larger or have more requirements, if you will, than the Eastbrook at Creekmore. And Mr. Odo, I saw your hand earlier. Was there something for you to add?
I was just going to clarify that we don't allow any portion of the lot in the floodplain. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, Vice Chair Fizer.
Referring to actually what you just said, how many houses are in that particular area that have the 30-foot wide?
The ones in Creekmore?
Yeah.
The initial one was for 30 some odd houses. I think we just approved another 30 some odd. So obviously it continues to grow, but it's probably in the 70s or 80s, if I had to guess. Mr. Crass might know.
That's correct. That's only the second phase of probably 4 that they'll be doing of that development. There's still the second phase. There's still a gap between where the second phase is and then the larger single-family homes that on Creekmore Drive.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I add one more thing?
Please.
Just I wanted to clarify, I was just corrected that the houses that we're proposing for the 45-foot lots, those sizes of houses are intended to be the same size of what we've been done in Brookside. Once we've done there, they're intended to be comparable in sizes. So you're going to get that advantage from necessarily they're narrower in width. They're going to be a little bit longer and a little bit taller. So there's going to be more on the second floor and more available square footage that way as well.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Any additional questions or discussion from the commission? Please, Vice Chair.
Personally, I think these are way too small. I know we have some in the city. I think we've done a lot lately with building apartments and approving apartments and townhomes, and I think things like that we do need here in the city. I feel like this is a neighborhood that, I mean, I wouldn't buy a house in a lot this small. I like the idea of having some smaller homes because I think that's, a lot of people do want to downsize, and I think that's something we could use, but just because you have a smaller house doesn't mean you necessarily want a tiny yard. And I think the gentleman who commented on the parking, I think he's exactly right. I think you look at the 1st Street and then the 4th Street, that's an awful lot of houses and a lot of cars. And 2-car garages, half the time you see the cars in the driveway and then you see the cars in front. I just think it just seems really congested. I think especially as that area gets developed more and more, I don't know, it just, to me, it looks pretty tight, and I think, like people have said, the north side with the larger lots seems a little more doable. I think just 45 feet just seems really narrow, like half of your front yard is going to be your driveway, and that's just, it's a lot of concrete out there.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Faulkner.
I'd like to make, excuse me, I'd like to make 4 points actually in opposition to this proposed rezoning. And I also would say that in addition to those, I agree with the 3 members of the public that spoke, particularly, I believe it was Mr. Yates that made a comment that this did not seem right for Raymore. And that statement in particular probably summarizes a lot of my thinking. But my 4 points. Point 1, this subdivision, proposed subdivision, seems too dense, particularly for the area. And I extracted from code, and I won't bore everybody with reading all of these different numbers unless you really want me to. But obviously, this proposal is a lot smaller than our R1. We have a designation called R-1.5. I don't believe we've actually ever used it, but R-1.5 is small lot, single-family residential, and those lots per code are 6,500 square feet minimum versus 4,500 for this proposal, and 60 feet minimum lot width versus 45 for this proposal. Also, staff report makes, I think, several references to Prairie View, the Good Ranch, which is nearby. That was, I believe, a 2015, and on that, minimum lot sizes are 7,200, minimum lot width is 60. So this is considerably smaller than anything nearby. Okay, point 2, I think all but one of this commission were here October 6th of 2000 when case number 18026 was a proposed rezoning of this property from R1P to R2P, going from single family to duplex. I want to point out that proposed rezoning, which the commission denied by a vote of 7-2, included 166 total housing units. That would be, you know, each side of the duplex. That was 166 total housing units. This proposal would be 172 total housing units. So it's even more dense in terms of housing units. Point 3, the P designation is supposed to be a trade-off for higher density in return for amenities, and outside of the trail, I'm not seeing any other amenities with this proposal. And point 4, even though the developer is saying that the northern half would be larger lots and it would only be a part of this tract going to these minimums, but from a rezoning standpoint, as I read the case, the rezoning actually would apply to the entire tract and would allow these proposed R1P minimums over the entire tract, which just seems to me to be another bad thing to do. You know, I'm not in favor of the smaller lots in the first place, but I also wanted to point out the way I read the rezoning, it actually would allow a developer to develop the entire tract at that higher density. So those 4 points, plus, as I said earlier, I agree with comments that were made by the 3 people from the public.
Thank you, Commissioner Faulkner. Yes, Mr. Ardot.
Thank you, Chairperson Wiggins. I'd just like to clarify a couple of things that were said. The rezoning does not allow him to put those lots everywhere. It has to follow the conceptual plan. If there's a deviation of 10% or more, then it needs to come back before the Planning Commission.
Okay, thank you.
I think that was all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Any additional questions, comments, statements by members of the commission? Unfortunately, the public hearing portion has been closed. I'm sorry. If not, I would entertain a motion of some sort.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Faulkner.
I would move to deny case 21010, Saddlebrook subdivision amendment to the R1P, and provide alternate findings of fact based on commission's comments as well as any of those from the public that are appropriate to include.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion to deny by Commissioner Faulkner, second by Vice Chair Pfizer, to deny case 21010 and provide alternate findings of fact. Mr. Zur, what additional information for the statement purpose of?
I think your additional findings of fact would have been the comments from the commission members regarding the application before you, including the adoption of Commissioner Pfizer's and Commissioner Faulkner's comments.
That's fine.
Thank you, sir. Okay, any discussion on that motion? Okay, no discussion. All those in favor of denial, please raise your hand. Hold your hands, please, since I've got to go through and mark. I appreciate that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All those opposed? And no abstentions, so that item does not, or the denial passes to not, so make sure I get my terminology correct. The motion to deny case 21010 has been accepted 6-3. Is that accurate for the record, sir?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Thank you, sir.
Again, always appreciate a motion in the positive when possible.
I appreciate it. Okay. With that being said,
I think we still have the next case.
he can choose to withdraw.
Right, could.
That's what they're discussing.
I think it might, excuse me, sorry,
No,
Commissioner.
please, yes, I was going to look to
think
staff or,
It might be beneficial to have a short break so that the applicant can decide if they want to withdraw
I think
or
that
move
sounds
forward.
fantastic. We will take a
Short recess.
a short 5-minute recess, if that is okay with everybody. The time is round up to 7:40. We will be back at the dais at 7:45, please. Okay, the time is now 7:45, so we will come back from, yep, apparently 5 minutes is exactly correct. We'll come back. Staff or city attorney, do we have any, well, I guess staff as well, but would we like to discuss the next case, or what's the?
Chairman, it's my understanding that the applicant is interested in proceeding forward. Obviously, the determinations from the Planning and Zoning Commission can be overturned by the City Council, and I think they'd like to make sure that this stays on track for consideration by the City Council. I'll let their representatives state otherwise if that's the case. We're good? That's the
Very good.
understanding.
Thank you so much for taking the time to clarify that for us. With that being said, we will proceed with case 21011, Saddlebrook, the preliminary plat. This does also require a public hearing, which I will open at this time, and we'll ask the applicant to please come again, and just for the record and making sure everything's good, please once again state your name and address, and please present your case.
Sean Duke with Snyder Associates, 802 Francis, St. Joseph, Missouri, 64501. As we discussed a little bit ago, this is Saddlebrook. As we are looking here now at the preliminary plat, this is the layout of the lots, the roadways, the design of the plat. We are bordered on the east side with Brook Parkway. That layout and configuration has already been decided for us. We have to connect there on the north side to the existing stub and then connect down the south where it intersects with the street to the south. So that is a limitation on our design. The creek on the east or the west is our area limitation. We do have a pond area that is going to remain there on the west side. So with those limitations, we have designed the layout of this property to configure the lots. We configured the north side to kind of curve and follow the terrain of the land, so the lots kind of drop off towards the backs of the lots because it kind of drops towards the northwest. The cul-de-sac roads were the best configuration we could work into here with the gas line back there. That large span that kind of runs up through there is a gas main that is existing. We can't move, and we have to working around it the best we can with the property we have available. We do have, the trail along the creek over there. That will be a continuation from what was built in Brookside. Next, it starts up there by the parking lot that the builders built, the developers built with Brookside, and then we'll continue on down to the south. We have kind of meandered that trail to incorporate the development, so it does tie into the sidewalks that will be built with the development. Along with Brook Parkway, there is, the open space tracks adjacent to it. So it's a very wide stretch roadway there that takes a fair amount of land from the development. And as we discussed before, we are proposing 65-foot wide lots there along the north. Most of them are around 65. There are some that are a little bit wider as land allows, but generally they're 65-foot wide lots. Along the south half of that, they're 45-foot wide lots. There are a few that do have some variation to them as property area was allowed for them to increase a little bit, but generally they're 45-foot wide lots. We do have a picture. I don't know if you wanted to see. I think it's in the staff report that showed kind of the houses. They are just, I don't remember what page it's on, but there's a house that shows it with a preliminary, conceptual floor layout. That is a house that we've talked with our architect about that would be a typical that could be built on these lots. There's a 2-story house. It's got about, I think, 1,500 to 1,800 square foot, depending on the configuration. Still a 3-bedroom. There's still a garage. It's a 2-car garage. We can make, these are all, I've seen several of these little examples of the houses, and they're all very nice looking. They can do a lot with the configuration that makes it, maybe more interesting on some of these houses than some of the other ones you see that are at 70-foot wide lots. They're all the same. There's a little more, a lot of variety that can be done with these houses. Let's see, in general, as far as the preliminary plat goes, the streets are all designed and intended to meet city standards. We have the cul-de-sac links that would be appropriate for city standards. We will have, they're showing circular cul-de-sacs right now. We're going to do the teardrops design that Raymore requires. So we will, modify definitely to meet that requirement. It doesn't take up any more land really for us, so it's not a factor on the layout, but it is something we'll include. And if there's any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer anything else.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, Mayor
So,
Turnbow.
sir, you've shown us one photo or one artist rendering of the style of home proposed. we've normally gotten in these types of preliminary plats a laundry list of styles of homes
I have
to be
several.
proposed.
have.
I think it would be helpful to get a better visual as to what's being proposed rather than just one out of a set of maybe 10 models that you all are considering for it. I don't know if there's going to be any custom homes built from the exterior side, or if they're just customized to fit the potential owner on the inside with regard to amenities. And with a lack of amenities on the property, it's going to have to be something nice that I assume that this group would want to see go in there to fit in the surrounding community.
Yeah, I have multiple. I'll show you. Let me grab those. So yeah, I have multiples we'll show you here. A couple other things, we do have some amenities with the trail, and there's a playground area along with the pond. We're trying to leave open for the neighborhood to have some green space and have some open area. So we do have some space available for amenities there. We do not plan to offer any more than that at this time.
Katie, will you be able to take over our computers so we can see it rather than craning our necks around to look at the big screen?
Yes, Mayor, I will be doing that right
Okay.
now.
Thank you.
If you scroll in there towards the end, there you go. So that's the one I believe that what Katie put in the
Yeah,
packet.
we have a picture of that.
And then, there's just some hand sketches that Wolfgang prepared for us, an architect in Kansas City here. There's a variety of different, sketches he's prepared and layouts. So, these will be, developers intending to develop the property to have lots for sale. So you will have similar to what Brookside is, where you have multiple builders in there, but there'll be some, guidelines for the development as typical in the subdivision. And they will probably develop some of their own houses as well. But there will be, their intent is to be a variety of houses in the subdivision.
What lots, for some of these larger homes of 1,800 to 2,000 square feet, what size lots are required for those? Are those
These all fit on the 45
will those be the
foot.
ones on the north side?
No,
or-
these will all fit on the 45. These are only houses that will fit, I've only got pictures of what designed to fit on the 45-foot wide lots.
Okay.
The 65-foot lots are your typical, split level, split entry, raised ranch, two-story house. Same thing you see up there. Almost everything I've seen in Brookside could be built on the 65-foot wide lot. You might not get all the three-car, garages, the wider garages, things like that to take more width, but there'll be still that same typical type of house. So what you get is you have a little bit wider house and not as deep of a house. But these are all designed, they're all roughly like, I think they vary in width between 30 to 35-foot wide lots, 30 to 35-foot wide houses. There's a variety, so.
Okay.
This is what we've been examining with the architect, and they've showed us several different floor plan layouts that, in my opinion, they all look very nice and fit very nicely in the house, and they'll be nice houses to live in.
All right. Thank you, sir.
But there's a possibility, if I may.
Yes, Commissioner Bowie?
Thank you. There's a possibility you have several developers here, though, right? Or not developers, several builders. You're not building all the homes here. There's potential for several builders, right?
There is potential. What we're proposing right now is a preliminary plat to develop the property. We aren't proposing a planned development that is going to restrict us to this set architecture.
Yep.
So we do have that, that's the intent, is to be able to sell lots for developers. But as any good subdivision, we're going to try to limit. We aren't going to just necessarily open it up. We want a nice subdivision that can build. So I don't know how many builders there are in Brookside right now. It's hard to say at this point, but there's usually most subdivisions like this, you see kind of controlled to, a handful, maybe 5 to 10 at the most developers or home builders. So that way you have a mixture of houses. They're always kind of going and going. And and most of the builders I know, they want, you need to get the lots, platted and ready to go because they're ready to build the next house as fast as they can right now. So we try to build that relationship so you keep that builder in your subdivision.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Zer,
Yeah, just real quickly, I want to make sure and impress. And Mayor, I appreciate the comments and the input as well as Commissioner Bowie's. And from the perspective of taking it into consideration, obviously the applicant has included the sketches and the renderings as part of the preliminary plat. Again, focus can include everything that's presented to the commission. I want to make sure and focus in the commission on the proposed findings of fact and the 4 items that have been identified. So for purposes of the discussion, yes, I think it's appropriate for, hey, you provided us with some renderings. Is this all of the renderings? But a final determination, please pull from your findings of fact.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Which, if we have any other questions, we can ask the applicant. Otherwise, I would probably suggest we go to Ms. Jardot for the staff report.
I got one more. I do have one more I'd
Yes,
like
sir.
to ask. So Linda may know, since she's with the group here tonight, with regard to Brookside, it was brought up by a previous person that came forward about rental. How much of Brookside has gone rental? You'll have to talk to the microphone. Identify yourself for the record. I mean, any of them in a group would like to talk. I just figured, since you're the real estate agent for most of that area, you'd probably know.
I would think that the whole
Name and address for the record. Sorry, Linda.
Oh, you want my address? Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Linda Welsh, 1008 North Mullen, Raymore.
Okay.
Okay.
With regard to my question about rental.
I would say that less than 20%. Because most of those people that live in Brookside have lived there forever.
Yeah.
Until they're 85 and 90. But, I mean, that's really true. I mean, there's just a very few, I'd say 20% or less.
Okay. Just curious. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I would like to turn it over to staff for the staff report, please.
Thank you, Chairman Wiggins. To start out, I'd just like to say that this should be the preliminary plat, case number 21011, should be considered based on if the rezoning was approved. So please keep that in mind. Rick Fry and Brookside Builders is requesting preliminary plat approval for approximately 65 acres. Again, the surrounding properties are also zoned R1P. The Parks and Recreation Board recommendation, that was previously done as part of Brookside 10 final plat, which was part of Brookside South subdivision. They agreed to accept the parkland dedication of Tract Y in Brookside 10, and the construction of a trailhead parking lot along Bristol Drive, and then a proposed walking trail from Bristol Drive south to Hubach Hill. And the requirements for that parkland dedication, which also covers this subdivision, have also been met. The property owner is the same individuals who developed the Brookside subdivision. The property was initially planned as an extension of Brookside subdivision and was referred to as Brookside South, but the property owners are now separating the new area from Brookside, and the area has been renamed Saddlebrook subdivision. Existing stream buffers throughout the property will be preserved. There's also a high-pressure natural gas line that runs almost parallel to the stream. The stream area acts as a natural buffer of at least 500 feet between the proposed homes and then the existing subdivision of Stonegate to the west. The sanitary sewer line is located to the west along the stream, and this interceptor is sized to support the development of this subdivision as the preliminary plat outlines. Stormwater will be maintained through the stream channel with the flow naturally falling to the southwest because there's a crest along the property on the east that keeps water from naturally reaching Dutchman Acres in the county. The dam located within Dutchman Acres is not regulated by the state of Missouri, and liability for that dam lies with the property owners of Dutchman Acres where the dam is located. Improvements to Hubach Hill were made in 2010 and accounted for this type of development as single-family residential, and therefore there is adequate capacity to handle the subdivision traffic as outlined in this preliminary plat. Brook Parkway will connect Brookside subdivision to Hubach Hill and become a minor collector. In regards to the amenities, I apologize for not clarifying earlier, but the amenities that will be include a playground, an open park field, and trail and preservation of natural features, including the stream. The amenities are provided for this development, and the MOU outlines their timeline, which is all included in your staff report. Staff recommends the Planning and Zoning Commission accept the staff proposed findings of fact and forward case number 21011 Saddlebrook Subdivision Preliminary Plat to the City Council with a recommendation of approval, subject to the following condition: that the request to modify the development standards of the existing R1P single-family residential plan district must be approved by City Council prior to final consideration of the final plat, of the preliminary plat. I'm available for any questions.
Thanks, Ms. Jardo. If possible, could you let us have control of our screens again? I know I read the PDF of the cases, so it might be beneficial for others. Do we have any initial questions for staff? We do have a public hearing to get to as well, but if there's immediate
Yeah,
questions.
If you don't mind, Chairman, I have
Yes,
one quick
Commissioner
question.
Urquilla.
So that I understand as we go through this, if we, let's say we decline or we deny this proposal, but the city then accepts the rezoning, what then kind of happens to the preliminary? Do they have to redo the preliminary plat, or how does that work?
That's correct. They would need to redo the preliminary plat. However, if this was approved and the rezoning was approved by City Council, then this would be able to move forward.
Right, that, yeah, okay. That's what I was trying to understand. Thank you.
You all continue to operate as a recommending body of the council. The council can take your recommendation and make determinations on each of the applications independently.
Thank you, Mr. Zer. Okay, any initial questions? Otherwise, I will turn to the public hearing portion, and then we can discuss further if necessary. But so the public hearing has been opened, same as before. If you have any comments to make, in addition, this is a separate case from the other one. So if you have any comments that you would like to make, please make your way to the podium, and I can go through the spiel if necessary. So. Thank you, sir. Same as before, please state your name and address for the record, since this is a separate case, and keep your comments to 5 minutes if possible, please.
Christopher Yates, 1011 Magnolia, Raymore, inside Dutchman's Acres subdivision. And so as not to repeat myself from the previous, you guys already understand that I don't think it's right, but I would like to propose something to you guys. I would like you to think of Cass Parkway as the second door, the second entrance to Raymore. And in that regard, when anybody actually comes through there, the first thing they're going to see, obviously, is the new commercial development. And then after that, what are they going to see? They're going to see nice single-family homes. As they drive down Hubach Hill, Cass Parkway, the next thing they're going to see, if this is approved, is something that doesn't belong. The first thing you're going to see on the left-hand side is a bunch of backyards. I have no idea if code will actually dictate whether those yards will be fenced in with wood or with chain link fence. But those people with having something that small are probably going to have a lot of stuff sitting out there. Obviously, that's going to have a particular look. There's going to be not a whole lot of room for trees. In fact, trees probably aren't going to show up for years. And then you're going to have the nice subdivision that's actually being built on the south side of that. Again, for me, it's the way that it actually looks. If we're talking strictly about platting in terms of the design, the fact of the matter is that there's nothing inviting about it whatsoever. It's straight, it's plain, it's it's very rote utilitarian. There is nothing about this that says, hey, you know what, this makes a great neighborhood. Let's go ahead and, you know, make the streets kind of windy. Let's, I mean, obviously the north side, sure, you can get lost in it, quote unquote, but I mean, the southern half is exactly that. It's literally meant to squeeze as many into a particular area as possible because there are so many limitations to the actual area in question. So, that being said, I will close my comment with this. As long as this is still an adopted growth management plan from 2013, goal number 3, refine and emphasize standards to maintain and improve the physical quality of development in Raymore and promote its distinctive appeal. Objective, to establish a unique identity for Raymore. This doesn't qualify as a unique identity for Raymore. As you guys have already noticed, there are no amenities. It doesn't match the surrounding areas. And with that, those are really my thoughts of the entire matter. It needs to actually blend in, and it needs to be appealing, and it shouldn't be, even from the backside, I don't want to see a bunch of tightly packed houses and nothing but backyards. You know, I want to see trees. I want to see people actually enjoying themselves. And for this, it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. And I know I'm going off a lot of feelings on the matter, but this is after I should have actually led with this. I grew up across the street in Belton in the Spring Valley subdivision. I moved into Kansas City in 2001, and I moved back in 2015 after being in active duty for 4 years. And now I traverse all the way to Whiteman Air Force Base every single day. You know why? Because I like Raymore. I like the area. I like where I live. I like the land. I like everything about it. I always have. I didn't want to move back to Belton. I hate Belton. I hate everything that they've done. They're backwards. Raymore has always been on top of it. Please keep that going. That's what I ask. And I realize I'm not even a Raymore resident. I realize I'm Cass. But the fact is, I'm not dumb. Sooner or later, all the surrounding neighborhoods are going to start popping up around Dutchman's Acres, whether or not we get annexed or not. And the fact of the matter is, I care. I really do. And I hope you guys do too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gates.
Chairman Wiggins,
Yes, ma'am.
staff would just like to again clarify that there are amenities included. They are outlined in the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Ardell. The public hearing is still open. If anybody has additional comments. And a reminder, if dittos, if any comments are the same. Thank you.
As far as, Cameron
Yes,
Reed,
thank you.
1124 West Hubach Hill Road. As far as like having a, I don't know, desire to move in there, I just don't see it. I mean, I know that they have a walking trail, but if you look at Stonegate, you look at Brookside, Wood Creek, actually, I'm not sure if Wood Creek does, but most of the surrounding subdivisions have the larger lots and they have a swimming pool or a park. I actually used to live in Ward Park Place and we had a park and a trail and a pool. But I mean, for the desire to move there, I just don't see it because, I mean, yeah, you're on top of each other, all those lots. And I just don't see the draw. But maybe that's just me. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Reed.
Chris Oakes, 1012 South Madison Street in Raymore. I echo all the public statements so far. Keeping along with the presentation and what people do see whenever they drive through Raymore, I realize going down like Lucy Webb, there's sections where you see people's backyards, but there is enough room and set off from the subdivision from the street that it allows for beautification of the area. It allows for the walking paths, the sidewalks, additional trees to be put in, which were just done a few years ago. A lot of things have changed along South Madison Street as well as Lucy Webb in the 30 years that I've been here. And I just wanted to make sure that the subdivision takes into account, or this subdivision and any other subdivision coming down the Hubach Hill and North Cass Parkway takes into the same consideration to effect that it is going to be something that if from the road as people drive through, if it has the same impact that Lucy Webb does, where you've got nice, beautiful trees, rock formations, things that I'm starting to see on the south side of the Hubach Hill Road now, that it seems like that subdivision clearly, since it's already being built up, is taking into that consideration. So mine would just be along that road to see if there is consideration for that beautification and those goals. My only other question that I've got is in concern with the building of the infrastructure and the roads. Since it has a dam attached to it that goes through that creek area, has there been any consideration, or is there any worry about as they're digging, hopefully not dynamiting or anything, but if that's going to disturb the dam at all? So that was my question for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Oakes. Anybody else from the public have any questions or statements? Otherwise, I will close the public hearing. Yes, sir, please.
On Hubach Hill Road, there is a track there that is 30 feet wide that is our landscape buffer requirement. That's a city requirement, so there will be landscaping along Hubach Hill. I just wanted to point that out. That is what that track is stated for. So we will have, trees and landscaping along there. We do have the whole entire buffer that has a natural zone there on the west side, whereas, and then also along Brook Parkway, there's, tracks on each side of Brook Parkway. There's a requirement as a parkway to have for landscaping as well. So there will be landscaping provided and screening that, it's going to help beautify the area, just as the city code requires. That's the, part of why the city has that code requirement. So just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
Thank you, I appreciate that. All right. Anybody else from the public? If not, I'll close the public hearing. That will lead us into commission member discussion, your questions, et cetera.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Faulkner.
I have two serious concerns about this preliminary plat. First concern has to do with Unified Development Code 445.030 requirements on cul-de-sac streets. And I believe that would be paragraph I.10.lowercase a, but I believe that section of city code specifies a 600-foot maximum length on cul-de-sacs in subdivisions with these smaller lot sizes, and that's measured from center line of the cul-de-sac to center line of the road that connects between the cul-de-sacs. And I scaled the print, and going from Hubach Hill back to the north on these four cul-de-sacs, these are approximate, I'll say, but Road A, I measure at 662 feet. Road B, Road C, I measure at 700 feet. Road D, I measure at 850 feet. Those may not be exactly accurate measurements because, as I said, I simply scaled the print, but all four of those exceed the 600-foot maximum cul-de-sac requirement as I understand city code. The other comment on those cul-de-sacs is, as they're shown on the prints provided to us, they do not comply with the decorative island for water, stormwater treatment either. Moving on, my second concern is that if I'm reading the print correctly, there's a pipeline easement that runs basically north-south, and three of the four cul-de-sacs, depending on how you count the Road A, but at least three of the four cul-de-sacs end on the west side of the pipeline, and that would be 15 or 16 houses on the west side of the pipeline that have no other means of exit except the cul-de-sac road. If there were ever an issue with the pipeline, those houses basically are trapped, and I personally think that's a public safety issue. So those are my two primary objections to the preliminary plat.
Thank you. I will turn it over to Mr. Crassinger in a second. I will note they did discuss the teardrop design previously, so that should, I believe, be at least
Now,
noted.
the main objection is distances.
Yeah, I understand. So I will turn it over to Mr. Crass, please, for clarification.
The commissioner is correct with regard to subdivision. Thank you. The commissioner is correct with the cul-de-sac length. However, I would note that the code also states exceptions may be made where topographic or other unusual conditions so require, subject to the approval of the Director of Public Works and the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have reviewed, the Public Works Department and the Engineering Department have reviewed the proposed layout, and would note that the condition where cul-de-sacs are excessive in length exists all over the city, especially due to topographic conditions. I'm sure there are cul-de-sacs in Stonegate that are currently longer than the 600 or 800 feet. So it is, and especially with the floodplain and other things and that are there, that is definitely an unusual condition for this parcel.
Thank you, Mr. Krass.
May I reply? This particular situation to me is considerably worse, more of a concern in part not only because of the excessive length, but also because of the significantly increased number of lots at 4,500, or excuse me, minimum lot width, 45 feet. And
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else from the commission have any comments, questions, inquiry statements?
Katie, do you have any additional response to what Mr. Faulkner had to brought forward in addition to what Mr. Krass had to say?
Just to say that they have agreed to do the teardrop design, which includes the center island, which is for stormwater and for stormwater quality and treatment. And again, these lots are larger than what has been approved in Eastbrook, which has 40-foot wide lots.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Yes, Mr. Krass.
One other thing I wanted to bring up for the commission's consideration, there was some discussion regarding traffic congestion, parking on the cul-de-sacs. I would point out in the venue of the Good Ranch, it was recommended and approved that those streets be posted no parking. I believe the development across the street here that will be moving forward was also, because of the townhome development and density, was posted no parking. Certainly my snow removal operators would appreciate, no parking on one side of the street. I mean, it can certainly be addressed in that manner.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman.
Mr. Doe had her hand.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Something
Sorry.
related to that, please.
I also believe it's Prairie of the Good Ranch that also has an even larger gas easement that goes through it, that also recently had to come forward because they had to have it widened, but also has a gas easement that goes through the subdivision.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Urquilla.
So would we need to make a modification to the proposed proposal to do that now, or would that be later for the no parking on
Regarding
one side of the
parking,
street?
either one side or no parking.
That could be done at final plat as part of, it'd probably be more appropriate at final plat, but you could certainly forward it to City Council for consideration as an additional recommendation.
Okay.
Thank you. I will take a last call on comments, questions, statements. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to
Chairman?
dispose of this item. Yes, Commissioner Urquilla.
I would like to go ahead and make a motion. And my motion is that the Planning and Zoning Commission accept the staff proposed findings of fact and forward case number 21011, Saddlebrook subdivision, preliminary plat to the City Council with a recommendation of approval, subject to the following condition. 1, the request to modify the development standards of the existing R1P single-family residential plan district must be approved by City Council prior to final consideration of the preliminary plat.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Urquilla, second by Mayor Turnbow for the Planning and Zoning Commission to accept the findings of fact and forward case 21011 to City Council with the excuse me, with the following subject of modification of the R1P must be approved in order to allow this to move forward. Mr. Zur, is that succinct enough? Am I missing?
I believe so. I'm sorry.
It was just the one condition.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, was there?
Condition one.
Yes, the subject condition of
Condition 1 as stated.
yes, the modification of the R1P must be approved. Any discussion on the motion at hand?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
so having been in this position for the last 5 years, I've worked very closely with staff on development, plans that we've had throughout our community. We work very closely with the Mid-America Regional Council to ensure that we have a variety of homes available to people who would like to live here in Raymore. And the product that they're proposing here, I might not necessarily live there either. But I don't know that we can say the same for every other individual that may want to be a resident here in Raymore. And so that's why I'm going to be voting yes for this particular motion, is because I do feel that this subdivision does offer a variety of housing for folks. It's not a downscaled version of any kind. It might be on tighter lots and lots that we're not used to. But there are areas within the community that are going that route, and they have provided some amenities here. I know the builders, they've built a good product previously, and that's why I'll be voting yes on this particular motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Turnbow. Any other discussion or comments from the commission? If not, we will take a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. All right, hold your hands for one moment, please. Very good. All those opposed? And that would be 9 votes. So we have 6 in favor, 3 opposed, no abstentions for planning and zoning to forward to city council, obviously subject to the rezoning as well. All right, thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I've got a question for Mr. Zur. Mr. Zur, as a voting no member to the previous motion on denial, do I have the ability to raise that subject back for reconsideration?
You would. You would.
Then I would make the motion that we bring up case 21010 for reconsideration as a no vote on a previous motion.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, let me see if I can get this right while Mr. Zur pulls out Robert's rules. So the motion is to reconsider case 21010. Let me get back to my stuff. Save myself and Mr. Zur some time here. The Saddlebrook rezoning for reconsideration, and I will leave this to Mr. Zur for whether or not we can proceed.
Mayor Turnbow, I'm prepared to provide an answer based upon Robert's Rules of Order. If a motion has been either adopted or defeated during a meeting, and at least one member who voted on the winning side wants to have a vote reconsidered, such a member may make the motion to reconsider. Okay. This motion can only be made by a member who voted on the winning side. That is to say, if the motion was adopted, the motion to reconsider can be made only by a member who voted in favor of the motion. Or if the motion was defeated, then only by a member who voted against it.
Thank you, Mr. Zur, for that clarification.
That's in lies the problem with making motions to deny. All right. I withdraw my motion then.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay. So that will conclude new business tonight. Mr. Zur, would you be handling our city council report tonight?
Yes, sir. I'm happy to provide the City Council report this evening. Since your last meeting, there have been 2 City Council meetings that have occurred where business has taken place. The first one of those is May 24th, 2021. During the course of that council meeting, the council took up for consideration second reading the Eastbrook at Creekmore second and final plat, which represented a 41-lot single-family development located along Hampstead Drive west of North Madison Street. Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed this on May 4th, 2021, and approved it by a vote of 8-0 to 1. City Council's first vote was approving of the final plat by unanimous vote 7-0. 7-0 for the individuals present. The Next item of issue was the venue of the Good Ranch final plat. This was a 6-lot multifamily townhome development located on the east side of Dean Avenue, north of North Cass Parkway. Planning and Zoning Commission previously approved this again on the 4th of May and approved it by a vote of 8-0 to 1. At first reading, the City Council approved it by a vote of 7-0 for those present, and again, it was approved for a second reading at that time. So the venue of the Good Ranch final plat has been approved by the council for its second reading. The only other item that I'd identify on the agenda, and that was as voted upon on the May 24th meeting, was the Oaks Ridge Farms final plat. This was a 57-lot single and two-family development located along Pine Street, north of the Ramblewood subdivision. Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed it and approved it by a vote of 8-0 on the 18th of May. And City Council also voted to approve that at their most recent meeting by a unanimous vote. The next City Council report that I would provide would be from the June 14th City Council meeting. During the course of that meeting, again, the Oaks Ridge Farms final plat received its second reading and a unanimous approval by the City Council. This was again the 57-lot single and two-family development located along Pine Street, north of the Ramblewood subdivision. City Council also took into consideration the Prairie at Carroll Farms rezoning. Prior approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission occurred on the 18th of May, and then tandem with that, the Prairie at Carroll Farms preliminary plat was reviewed and approved. Again, public hearings occurred on both of those items. Planning and Zoning Commission previously approved this by a 9-0 vote. City Council provided its unanimous consent and approval for the same. That was under the first readings. I think that concludes my City Council report. I saw one other highlighted item on here, but that was for my notes. I'm happy to answer any questions the Commission might have regarding the current City Council actions. Obviously, I also welcome the input from Mayor Turnbow, who chaired those meetings.
Thank you, Mr. Zur. Ms. Chardot, would you be giving us the staff report tonight?
Thank you, Chairperson Wiggins. For the staff report, I'd like to point out that there are 201 undeveloped lots within the city, so we will likely begin to see a downturn in the number of permits pulled as there are less lots available. I'd also like to note that we have new public notice signs that are being placed on the property, on properties that are having rezonings or having public hearings. They kind of go with our the brand guidelines a little bit more, and also have a QR code on them. When people scan the QR code, it will take them directly to our What's Happening app that shows that particular public hearing notice, and then any additional plans or items that would have been mailed out in a good neighbor notice. And also the South Metro Fire Department or Fire District, their administrative building plans have come in for review, so we will be reviewing those as a site plan at our next meeting in July. And then site work has commenced for venue of the Good Ranch Townhome development as well. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Chardot. Any questions of staff? Mr. Bowie?
Quick question. Industrial buildings, actually two questions. Industrial buildings, has there been any activity in terms of interest? Maybe someone else can answer that, but I have one more after that. Go ahead.
I believe there's interest in the building that is almost complete, and they will be announcing more news on that. I believe in the next, 2 weeks, there's a due diligence period, and I'm not sure how much time is left on the due diligence. It was 45 days to begin with, but I'm not sure when it was started.
Okay. Second question, Steak and Shake dispensary, marijuana, any issues with that? Or any building or things going on in terms that we need to know about?
No issues. They've submitted plans for interior renovation, and those are being reviewed by our building official, John Warner.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Any additional questions of staff? Okay. Now, I'm sorry? No, what'd you say? Oh, is he anxious? I get it now. When's their opening date, right? We will now move into public comment section, so if any members of the public would like to make any additional comments, please feel free to come to the podium at this time. Same as before, please note your name and address for the record, and please keep your comments to 5 minutes if possible.
Cameron Reed, 1124 West Hubach Hill. As far as the letters that are supposed to be sent out whenever there's a good neighbor meeting or a rezoning, who sends those and why haven't I gotten any?
I'll leave that to Ms. Jardot.
I send them out, and I can check on our list, but they are sent to people within 185 feet, so I'm not sure where you live in the subdivision, but
So see where the road where Brook Parkway meets Hubach Hill? I live right there.
okay, we can
So-
check this list afterwards.
Because he didn't receive one either.
Well,
so.
it-
Okay,
I
it's
believe
not
it is,
uncommon for things to get
but
lost
it is
in the
also
mail.
sent to residents of Raymore, or is it include?
No, we include the county as
Okay,
well.
I just wanted
be
to
good
clarify.
neighbors.
We haven't any
Okay.
of the good neighbor meetings or any of the rezonings, and we've been to 2 rezonings and 2 good neighbors at this point.
Well, thank you for bringing that up. Hopefully we can.
Yeah, I'm glad you found out about them regardless.
Any additional comments from the public? Mr. Yates?
Christopher Yates, 1011 Magnolia. Mr. Jardot, I would ask, what is the reasoning for only 185 feet? Because we obviously know that the people on all sides of this property would probably want to know what's actually happening in their backyard. Is there a particular code that actually says, hey, only 185?
Yeah, and I think
Yes, sir,
Mr.
there
Zers-
is. And that's also why we put up the public hearing notice signs so that others, as they drive, can see them as well. But
I must say that it's kind of hard to see them when there's a lot of tall grass in front of them. And they're
Okay.
only about 18 inches wide.
Okay,
That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Yates. All right, any additional comments? Okay, we'll move into the commission member comments. I will note real quick, the July 6th meeting, we do have quite a few things on the agenda, so I hope to see everybody there. Obviously, that's a kind of a holiday week, well, coming off of a holiday weekend, so hopefully everybody can get some aloe and some water in and hydrate and cure their sunburns and make it to the July 6th meeting. Additionally, I want to apologize. I did not, during the votes, give anybody that voted nay an opportunity to speak on why they chose to vote one way or the other. Typically, we do that, and I failed to do so, so I apologize and would also welcome, I guess, during this moment of commission member comments, if you would like to address any of those issues, I welcome it at this time. But otherwise, I will start with Commissioner Faulkner on my right.
Thank you, Chairman Wiggins, and as always, thanks to staff. I think my comments made during the cases probably speak for themselves, particularly as to why I voted nay on the preliminary plat. So, thank you.
Thank you. Secretary Peterman?
Thanks to staff, of course, for all the hard work. I do have a question. City Council is going on a tour of the new apartments, Compass, and the new warehouses. I would like to think that we could put something together for planning and zoning staff to be able to go on a tour like that. I know David was the one that was making the arrangements for the city council, and I tried to tag along, but limited space. So anyway, if that would be considered, I would appreciate it. I think it would be good for all of us to see some of our works in action.
I will get with him on that. I was not invited either.
That's why he included staff as well to attend. Continuing down the line, Commissioner Manser.
I'd like to first thank staff and the public for coming out, voicing your opinion. It's always appreciated. I'd also like to just quickly note that I voted for the preliminary plat kind of as a accepting and moving forward. If the city council is willing to accept the 45-foot lots, then I think this development would be fine. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Manser. Commissioner Bowie.
Thank you, staff. Thank you for the applicant and public as well. I think this type of discourse is needed when we're trying to hash out some of these issues, so I definitely appreciate it. as far as my nay goes, I think it was echoed by, when I first read through all the plans, I think it was echoed by what was said by the public, as well as by a few of the commissioners, and that's really why I voted nay. But again, I think we're moving in the right direction. I think there's various types of housing that are needed. But you know, I do think it's important that the public speak up, and we hear from the public since they spent, they have they're a big part of our stakeholders here in the city. So with that said, again, thanks everybody, and I really like the idea that Commissioner Peterman said in terms of being invited to take a look at some of the things. I think that'd be a good idea. Thanks.
Thank you. Moving this way to Vice Chair Pfizer.
I just want to thank staff, and I appreciate the public coming out. It always is good to hear opinions of people. And that's really it. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Engert?
Thank you, staff, for the information. Very valuable. It's very interesting reading to come through this. I also would like to thank the public for coming tonight to the hearing. It's always a privilege to hear from those out there that do make a difference and can have some influence on our decisions ourselves. I, too, had voted no the first time, but the mayor changed my mind when he said this is good for the city of Raymore. And I would echo what the mayor said. It wouldn't be someplace that I would want to move to, but is it of benefit to the community of Raymore? And that's what changed my mind, is I feel that it is a benefit for the community of Raymore.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Kia?
Yeah, I just want to, I'll start off by just talking about why I was for the initial proposal that was, which meant I voted against the negative, whatever, motion. You know, from my perspective, again, I think that, you know, smaller, call it more affordable homes are important in the community, you know, especially as I like, you know, as I've progressed in, you know, in my life and see like my in-laws and their need for a smaller home that they can live in that is near, you know, nearby, where we can take care of them and still have the benefits of the community of Raymore. It's sad that there's not homes like that available. And, you know, this would have been a nice way of kind of addressing that, what I perceive as a need for the community that I think would be beneficial, which is why I was for it. You know, I've lived in a small 1,100 square foot 3-bedroom home, and I know, you know, what that actually allows for people to do and, you know, to be a part of a community that you otherwise might not be able to be a part of. So that's how I was against the negative motion that was made early on. And on top of that, too, from my perspective, we, you know, invest quite a bit of money into our city staff to make sure that they do the due diligence for us to ensure that projects that are coming before us meet the needs of the city, meet the standards that are set by the city for development purposes, and based off of my trust in them, with the exceptions that were noted, I was still comfortable with being for both proposals, whether that meant a nay vote or a yay vote.
Thank you. Mayor Turnbow?
Well said, Mr. Kia. I'm not sure I could have, can improve upon that. I appreciate those folks from Dutchman Acres coming out. I'd put more weight probably in someone from Stonegate or Brookside, or someone within the city limits with regard to who's actually paying taxes in our community. Like I said earlier, you know, our staff works very closely with the developers, with the Mid-America Regional Council, with the Community for All Ages, ensuring that there is a crop of homes available within our community that meet various needs. And like I said earlier, why I might not want to live in the south side of that, I might want to live in the north side, though. So we've proven that those are successful. Those homes are on a waiting list over there in Creekmore. I mean, they've sold a ton of them already. They're not even finished yet. So there is a market for that. And if you're still talking about a $250,000 home, it's a shame that we live by the code that we support our staff and thank the staff, but sometimes we don't act like we do that, and as a result of the votes that were made. But you know what? As Mr. Bowie said, it's the discourse itself is honorable. We can all walk out of here as friends, but maybe not agree on particular subjects, and that's why there's 9 of us and not one of us making a decision. So I do appreciate this board's consideration on this and giving it due diligence, and let the chips fall where they may. With regard to staff, thank you for the hard work on that. Appreciate your work, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll note, I don't think anybody brought it up, but on Friday, July 2nd I believe, is our Spirit of America celebration. Is that going on? Yes, out at Rec Park. So food trucks, music, fireworks. So Friday, July 2nd out at Rec Park, you will be able to see a wonderful firework display. Is it the same company that does, like, are they using the mobile app that you can listen to music and it's coordinated?
Yeah, it's all the same group.
So look into that. That would be a great weekend activity. Again, stay hydrated and sunscreen and all that jazz that weekend so that we can be back here on the 6th. Thank you to staff, as always. Commissioner Key, I don't think I could put into better words than you did. We definitely have, we have 200 available lots in the neighborhood, or in the entire city. You see how fast stuff is going up. We've just recently approved 700 some odd lots, and those are going to get going fast. We've got coming up on the 6th, another like 500 coming our way. So there's a lot of stuff that's going to be moving in our city. There's a lot of misinformation about some of the projects that are going on in town. This is the best place to get the information. So thank you to staff. Thank you everybody here for your input. It's definitely well received. The discussion is always one of my favorite parts, no matter how things go one way or another. So thank you to the public for coming out as well. It's always good to hear beyond comments on Facebook and things like that. So thank you for taking the time to be here. With that, have a safe, happy 4th of July when that comes here, and I guess it's still like 2.5 weeks away, but it's going to be here sooner than later. And I would entertain a motion to adjourn this evening's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Kia, second by Mayor Turnbow, to adjourn this evening's meeting. All in favor? Seeing 9 hands.